Hi, Nathan.
Hello.
Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So we're going to talk today about LGBTQ+, right? And your experience with that and your experience with coming out. So thank you for sharing your story, first of all. So you are manager of the Earth House, which is a restaurant, bar, cafe,
Yes.
everything.
Sukhumvit 53.
Sukhumvit 53, if anyone wants to go there, if you live in Bangkok. You are also a freelance copywriter.
Yep.
And you are also a DJ.
Yes.
So many things.
Yes.
You've got many hats going on, which...
Every minute of every day, yeah.
I love that. You must be super busy all the time.
Yes.
So let's dive in. We're going to go straight in, okay? So can you walk us through the moment that you first began to question your own sexuality?
Yeah. I mean, I guess there's not like one defining moment, but like kind of a culmination of moments as you're growing up. And like I think when most people decide to come out, it's sort of a realization that you've always known. Mm-hmm. And there's things growing up where maybe it's not so normal for a boy to have lots of close girlfriends. Maybe it's not normal to go into the department store and spend like a little bit of time in the undergarments section. And then you meet people later in life and realize that they had the same type of experience. But I think when you're younger, you don't necessarily know what's going on, but mm-hmm. you can kind of see from social cues and the world that what you're feeling isn't what the majority of people are feeling. Mm-hmm. And I think when I was younger, I picked up on those cues and kind of learned how to adapt to society, I guess. And through that, you kind of put yourself in the closet, so to speak. And then, I guess as you get older, it gets heavier and heavier to kind of stay in that box, and you kind of you make the decision whether you're ready to face the world or kind of stay in that zone. So I don't know if there's one moment, but kind of the whole experience of life.
Yeah, because I think it's difficult I think upbringing has a lot to do with it, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't have that type of conversation with your parents, and I don't know about you, but I don't really remember I don't remember much at school, like being educated about it much at school. And so then really all that you're getting is from the outside world. And if you don't have any friends or any family talking about it, then you're just consuming it through the media. And then sometimes, the media is, if you watch films and think, mm-hmm. oh, that's how I have to be, or that's how, it must be this way. Am I matching that or not? And so that's where I think it must be quite difficult for people who are questioning actually which kind of route are they going down? Like, what is it, without having that conversation?
Yeah, I completely agree. Especially like as a kid of the 90s, there definitely wasn't much discussion about that in school. And you would kind of see the kids who were maybe, realized they were a bit fabulous earlier on, but you kind of watch their experience and, it makes you feel like, okay, if I act like that, I'm going to get this response. But nobody ever tells you that it's okay to just act however you want to be.
Can we backtrack?
Yeah, of course.
When you said when you watch their experience, they act like that and respond, what do you mean?
I mean, you see certain kids, living authentically, say, mm-hmm. but then you kind of witness, the teasing, the bullying. I never had, say, like a particular bully, but I'm quite big, so maybe that helped. But
they were too scared of you.
But I had quite a high voice until like middle of middle school. I had a very close group of guy friends, but I also had a lot of close girlfriends. So I think there were people, outside of my close circle who picked up on some of those, cues and had their assumptions about me. But I think because I never fed into it, it never culminated into any sort of real issue other than, internally. But when I saw how those people maybe treated other kids who were sort of out at a young age, you kind of feel like, why are they being treated like that? But also like, I don't want to be treated like that.
Yeah.
And so it kind of puts, people who you're watching someone go through an experience out loud when you're kind of having your own internal battle, but you also are kind of too nervous or afraid to step in and say something because you don't then want to become a target, which is like such a backwards way of the world working.
It is, but totally understandable at the same time, especially at a young age, right? When I think most children are just kind of prone to people pleasing and just wanting to fit in, right?
Yep.
And make friends. And
it's hard enough as like a kid growing up just wanting to, yeah, exactly.
School is rough.
School can be really...
I would never go back. I mean, this might be quite an obvious question, but what confirmed that you were gay and not bisexual?
Sure. Yeah, that's interesting, actually. I mean, I think I've always known that I'm gay. I'm not a 5-star gay, which means I have had like girlfriends and experiences with women in the past.
Right.
But I think that's all part of, you hoping that it's a phase or hoping that you can kind of adapt to like what society's normalness is. And for me, it was never like, oh, this is gross, or oh, this isn't, this is yeah. I don't know if you talk to some guys, they're like, no. But I think for me, it was all part of the process of, really coming to an honest conclusion with myself. And it's, yeah, I don't know. I guess it's in the same way that, someone is, truly madly, deeply in love with the opposite sex. It's that same sort of feeling within yourself for, the same sex, for example. So I guess like the confirmation fully realized when I decided to just be myself, fully myself. I mean, I think that's just a part of you that until you're ready to just live in, it's always just kind of in the back of your mind. So I think it just takes the courage, so to say, to be like, yeah, that's who I am. And it's okay. But yeah, I don't know. It is a strange thing because there are a lot of labels which I think people feel pigeonholed into. And, maybe some people are fluid. Maybe some people are just not sure until they've tasted every Skittle, that kind of thing. But yeah, I think everyone's journey is different. And, it's unfortunate that, society kind of forces people who are already sort of a minority in a sense of having to feel the pressure to be like, hey, this is who I am. I think there's a little bit of I don't know. It's always kind of been something that I've not understood quite why it has to be such a big deal. And I feel like maybe nowadays it's getting easier, but I think, in the 90s and even before that, it was like, yeah, there's like a lot of pressure and stress around it.
Absolutely. And like you said, that still exists today, but it's definitely getting better. And I think it can also very much start within the home. Because not everyone is understanding of it, and not all parents are understanding of it. I mean, what was your experience with that?
Yeah.
Like when you did finally decide to come out, did you tell your parents? Like who was the first person that you told?
Gosh, I actually don't remember the first person I told. I think it kind of came organically in Bangkok when I got into like my first relationship.
What age was that?
Gosh, it wasn't until I was like 25.
Wow, so
Yeah.
quite
So
laid on.
quite, yeah. And I mean, my friends here, I don't know. I mean, you've lived abroad. You kind of form these like crazy connections with people living abroad because you're all kind of going through a similar experience, you know, away from home. You know, you're kind of trying to find your own place, especially when you arrive in like, you know, your 20s and you still have no idea what you're doing in life or like,
So true.
how did I end up here? But I think, yeah, I kind of just started bringing this guy around and everybody was cool with it. Some people were like, duh, like we knew already. And other people were like, oh, that's great. You know, you're happy. But I still felt like a lot of stress and pressure about telling my family. Like it was quite difficult for me. But I think it was something that I really built up in my own mind because of, you know, society and, you know, you hear stories about people whose families are like, you know, disowning them or kicking them out. And I never felt that was going to happen. But I think, I don't know, whenever you share big news with your family, you're always worried about the reaction and you don't know how it's going to be received. So yeah, I mean, I feel really lucky and blessed that my parents and my brother were like amazing. You know, I think of course, every parent doesn't want their kid's life to be harder, but you know, their response was kind of like, you know, we kind of knew, but they're like, until your child says it outright, we can never fully say one way or the other.
Yeah.
And so they kind of, you know, I really respect that they respected me enough to kind of be ready to say, you know, that kind of thing to them. So I feel really lucky about that. My husband is Thai, and there's a lot of stigma in the Thai culture. You know, it's very open. You know, people are out and fabulous, but I think still within the family homes in a lot of places, there's a lot of that tradition and that sort of conservative mindset about the past. And again, I'm speaking from an outsider looking in, but that yeah, it is. There are definitely different cultures. I mean, even at home, you know, the different way people perceive things and the openness of people to accepting things. It's interesting how it transcends culture. I'm lucky enough to have, you know, my family and friends who have been, you know, some of my best friends I've known since kindergarten, and we're still, you know, chatting all the time and still super close and in each other's weddings and that kind of thing. So I think for me, I feel really lucky and blessed to have people who just, you know, embraced me for who I am. And when I was strong enough to let them know, hey, there's more of me that I haven't really shared with you. And, you know, our relationships haven't changed in a negative way. They've, I think, grown stronger, and they're learning more about, you know, the gay community. They're, you know, sending me stories and memes and funny things now that I feel like it's also helped open up their eyes to, you know, a big part of my world that, you know, they didn't get to be a part of when I was kind of defining it here. So I think, yeah, I think it's really special. And yeah, I'm forever grateful for that, for everyone in my life. But yeah, I think it's weird being here for my whole adulthood, really. I came here after university.
Wow.
And so I have these people who knew a version of me, you know, for 22, 23 years. And I feel like I've evolved into like, just like a next chapter of myself. I'm still so much the same, but I just get to be more of me. And I think because of that, all of our relationships, even from afar, have become stronger, which is really cool. Yeah.
Let's speak about when you did come out, because you said that you did have some reservations about what your family would think. What were they? Like, what fears did you have? And not just to your family, just to the world as well. What kind of fears did you have about coming out? And which ones turned out to be true and which turned out to actually not be true?
Yeah, I think, like I said before, because there's like this concept of coming out, you feel like okay, you build yourself up for it. Like I've got to announce to everyone that I know and love that I'm I'm not in the main highway of life. I'm on a different path in some senses, I guess you could say. And I think my biggest fear or reservation was that the people that I'm closest to and that I have the closest relationships with would see me differently, and would, yeah, that the relationships would change between me and, people I've known my whole life, and even new people. There's still, I guess, part of me in certain situations where I may be a little less open because you're just not sure how it's going to be received, which I think is like so crazy that that you have to like go into life like that. But I think, yeah, I guess rejection, and relationships changing would have been my biggest fears, and just also people not understanding.
But why? Because you said that you feared rejection, that you feared your relationships changing. But why do you think? Yeah, why did you believe that you might face rejection, or you might, what led you to kind of have those thoughts in the first place?
I think, yeah, I think it's just like the era of when I was growing up, being gay, it was sort of a caricature in like media. And you overhear conversations growing up, you overhear comments people say, and you're just kind of like, okay, if I'm that, then people are gonna talk about me this way. Or you hear, like I said, you hear the stories about people's terrible experiences coming out, and being put on the street, or severing relationships with their parents, that kind of thing. And I guess internally I knew that I had like a wonderful support system, but you also have that battle of like, but what if it changes? And I think, yeah, I think it's a lot of just what you see in the world growing up, even though it's something, the narrative you've kind of created yourself because of those experiences, rather than kind of trusting that the relationships that matter the most will be there for you no matter what. Even if it takes some people time to fully get on board. I think in the end, the people who really love you, like you were saying, love you no matter what. Yeah.
That's really interesting what you said about it's the narrative that you create yourself, but from things that are fed into you from external factors, but then you create that narrative yourself. And so this is where I think it's super important about your circle and who you surround yourself with, because if you're surrounded by people who have a negative outlook on sexuality and being open, versus a circle of people who you probably have around you now that are very open to it and open to the discussion and positive about it, that can literally influence and change everything.
It does. It does. I mean, the first time I'd ever lived away from anyone that I knew was in Bangkok. But I actually came here with one of my best friends from high school to teach English for a year after university.
Oh, right. Nice.
And like I went to university with friends from high school who I'm so lucky to still be close with, so many people from home. But when my friend left Thailand, it was the first time I'd ever been on my own, and sort of able to just explore and build, these connections with people who had no preconceptions of who I was. And as I slowly became more comfortable with, myself, and understanding, my life and my identity, you kind of see the people that are, attracted to that are, that you're pulling into your field, or your, I don't know what the word is, your life, I guess.
Yeah.
And I think that was something that was so like eye-opening and beautiful about being on your own, or being on my own, was that I saw too, even when I wasn't, even when I finally decided to be who I've always been, in the sense of my, sexual identity, or whatever you want to call it, I was still being surrounded by these amazing people. And then to have my friends and family at home also get to share in that once I was finally ready to share with them and have them, be just as loving and supportive. It means there's good in the world, and there's hope for everyone to find their people, even if it might not be, the people they're expecting it to be.
But I think that's important. If you don't currently have that, and you have a negative circle, hold out until you find your circle. Go find your circle. Right?
Yeah, I think there's a place for everyone in the world. And I think, nowadays with the world being so much more open to moving around and talking to people online and that kind of thing, it makes it feel a little less lonely. And yeah, I think once you start, being okay to be more of who you are, you draw in the people that want to be part of that.
So true. You receive what you put out, right?
Yeah.
The reaction that you feared the most and how you prepared for that mentally, which you already kind of touched on before. But was there any preparation? Did you do the whole kind of okay, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to say it like this is how I'm going to do it? Because I think you said there was a bit of a build-up, right?
Yeah, there was, and it kind of came to a deadline. I was planning on going back home to visit when I was with my previous boyfriend, and we'd been together for a little bit of time, and my parents sort of knew about him, but not in that context. And I was like, so I want him to come home with me, but then it was like, okay, so how do I tell them that? Well, I kind of have to tell them that because he's going to be staying, with us at the house. So it was kind of like, I built this whole thing up, and then I was like, I actually have to do this now because there's a deadline with a flight, and we've got to go. So yeah, I mean, I'm someone who really likes to have conversations in person. And so it was a bit weird doing it over a video call. But I guess that's...
Oh, you did it on a video call. Wow.
So it was like, hi.
And then your partner goes, hi.
Hello. So it was like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of like that, though. I tend to... Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just a personality trait. Build things up and then gets to a point where you have to handle it in the moment. Yeah. And it's like, okay, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was.
Right, overthinking.
Yeah, overthinking. There you go.
Yeah, I can relate.
Yeah.
I honestly believe that this is, because obviously this whole conversation and everything is about courage and about fear. And I honestly think that one of the biggest influences or things that impact a person's courage and fear is what happens up here.
100%.
And if you're an overthinker, as I am, you can get overwhelmed quite easily as well. And you just kind of build this narrative. It comes back to the narrative again, the internal chat. You build it up and up, and you think it's going to be this wild thing, and then it happens, and everyone else is chilling. It's like,
wait.
Huh. Okay.
Next.
Next. Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah.
So true.
Were there any moments where you felt like going back into the closet, as they say, or that you were worried about, worried about yourself and how life was going to be, or if you got it wrong?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I have any regrets about coming out. I think because I came out a bit later. I was 25 when I finally spoke the words to people. I think I wasn't necessarily equipped with the tools to understand relationships, because I didn't really have that period of time, when you're in your teens or your early 20s, where you're sort of dating around and kind of, having your short-term relation, your puppy love, that kind of thing. And so I think when I got into my first relationship, I didn't necessarily have the tools to understand what was healthy and not healthy. And, you know, you've been waiting your whole life to kind of have that same experience that you see your straight friends having, and you sort of are like, okay, I found someone and we're both on the same page and they accept me for who I am, that you kind of overlook, or at least for me, red flags and, you know, things that I feel like you learn along the way from just having that sort of standard dating experience. And so I think for me, I never wanted to go back in the closet, but I wish that I had had more of that, yeah, just that experience to be young and date and, you know, go to you know, gay spaces and kind of feel comfortable enough to be who I was, so that when I did meet someone, I was strong enough in my own, you know, self value and self worth, that to be able to see when something wasn't right.
Yeah, I honestly, I mean, that can be said for all relationships, right? Because, yeah, if you're, especially if you have low self-esteem or some kind of confidence barrier to yourself, oftentimes it can be the first person or the people that come to you who seem to just kind of accept you as you are, and you can really fall for that. And it's like, oh, they like me for who I am, but then they could have like hundreds of red flags behind them,
and they were flying high.
Like, yeah, like, you know, ex-convict or, you know, like whatever, drug dealer, I don't know. And okay, I'm not saying that that's what people do. I certainly don't. But just extreme example.
Yeah.
You know, that can all be totally overlooked because you're so focused on being accepted.
Yeah, and making it work.
Someone.
Like,
right.
this is supposed to work. Like, I found someone. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess through every situation, there's always, you know, a silver lining, and you learn things from it, and, you know, you look back on it and realize, you know, what you gained from even a negative experience. You know, there's always something that you can flip it around and realize that, okay, you go through that so that you can be who you are now. Which is
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Silver lining.
Silver lining, yeah.
Silver linings. How has your life changed since being open and true to yourself about your sexuality?
Oh, it's fabulous. Life is so good now. I mean, obviously, day-to-day troubles that everybody has, but I think, you know, I wish I'd come out sooner. I wish that I had, you know, been able to have some of the experiences I've had earlier in life. But again, I don't think there's any right time to come out. I don't really think you should have to come out, but that's another podcast. But I think that life is so much freer in being able to be who I am and not be worried 100% of the time about how people are going to receive you, or feeling like you have to hide a big part of who you are. I think I never like outwardly struggled with being gay. It was always an internal thing, and I had wonderful friends and families to always be there for me in situations. But I think it wasn't until I was older that I realized how like heavy not living openly is, and the kind of struggle that people who don't have a strong support network have growing up. Not being able to sort of escape that internal monologue of you're different or whatever. And I think it's something that really made me feel like a weight was lifted off my shoulders. And I think it also opened me up to meeting the right people. Married now.
Hey.
shout out to my beautiful husband, Paul. But I think being in the closet, you're not fully, sharing everything that you are with people. And I think until you're able to do that, you're kind of setting yourself up to not fully give, but fully receive maybe what you're looking for. And so I think that by just being brave enough to say this is who I am, and being able to speak that out loud has made my life just so much better on so many levels. Yeah, like I said, it's heavy, and you don't necessarily realize it because you're living life, you're going to work, you're going to school, but once you like remove those chains, you're like, I can just be who I am fully, and in full color, technicolor.
Yeah.
And I think it makes you just appreciate life more too. You don't live with that weight or that fear, I guess.
Yeah. And I want to speak to the viewers who are watching about, or the viewers who are still in that kind of phase where they're like, am I gay? Am I not gay? Do you remember your first kiss and your first experience with a man?
Gosh. Is it bad if I say no? My first...
You don't remember your first kiss?
Well, my first kiss was with a girl.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, can we talk about that then?
Of course.
Okay, so how old were you?
I mean, I was pretty young. I mean, if we're talking like puppy love kiss, it was like elementary school, when kids are just like, oh, is that weird?
Okay, you straighten.
I don't know. Kids are like, oh, this is what we see adults doing. We'll do that. So I don't think it was like romantic in any way. But I'm trying to think.
Like, did you? Okay, so can you remember your first? How do I want to say it? Like a kiss that was with intention.
Sure, with anyone, right?
Was it male or was it female? Like the
I
first
think
intentional kiss.
I think my first intentional kiss was with a female, but I think it was part of that. Okay, hopefully this works.
Right.
Hopefully those thoughts you've been having will just kind of be wiped away.
So you think that kind of time you were not really sure or even accepting of yourself that you were gay, and so you're like, okay, I'm going to kiss this girl and hope that it all goes away.
Yeah, hope that that's all that it took.
So what happened afterwards? How was it?
I mean, it was fine, but you just, I don't know. It was what you were supposed to do, or what you saw you were supposed to do, right? Like in a movie or whatever. But it was never that spark,
right?
That kind of deeper connection that you get when you find someone that you're attracted to on a different level, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but you can also have that. Like I can have that. I can kiss someone and there's just no spark, and I'm like, huh.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that I'm, how do you know the difference then? Like if there's...
I guess for me, there was a much stronger, I guess, passion connected to something, and maybe that connection on like a shared experience of being with someone who had also gone through sort of the similar thing that you've gone through, and made you feel sure about yourself. I think whenever I kissed a girl, it was like, sorry. It was, I never felt sure of myself after.
Right.
And I think when it was kissing a guy, there was that feeling of, this is what I feel right about.
Okay, so the first guy that you kissed with intention, you had that feeling when you're just like, it felt totally different.
It did.
Right.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know. It's hard to describe.
And how do you know that guy just wasn't amazing at kissing and that's what caused the spark? Like,
that's also a good point, because, I don't know, but I think internally, because I had always known or thought or questioned that, because it felt more right to me, that was kind of my sign. But I also, it goes back to your question earlier about knowing between being gay or bi or whatever your identity is, I think internally you just have to listen to yourself. And I think that there are people who live fluidly and on a spectrum, and today I'm in love with my girlfriend, but tomorrow I'm gonna marry a man, that kind of
I
thing.
thought you were saying that about yourself, and I was like, you have a girlfriend?
No, I think it goes back to the label thing. I think people really need to define something because it helps them understand a concept.
Yeah.
And I think that you can have experiences throughout your whole life where you're really connected with someone. And I think that it's you just know in your heart, in your mind, what feels the most right for you. But it doesn't mean you can't have meaningful connections with other people.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, people are attracted to people. People love people.
Yeah, agreed.
Like you said, sometimes it's just, why do we have labels? Like, just take the labels away and just let people love people.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
I completely agree with that.
Can we go a little bit deeper?
Yes.
With, no pun intended, but your first encounter with a man that in the bedroom. Can we go there?
Let's go.
Okay. Because I think this is another thing that some people can worry about, right? Because, again, my experience anyway, sex education, I mean, that was something anyway, my experience. Like, I had the most awkward teacher. But, so sex education classes at school, typically we learn about male-female
the reproductive
connection.
Yeah.
Right. How to make a baby. But there's nothing about same sex. So how did you navigate that? Like when it came to you having that experience, how did you know what to do? Or how did you learn?
That's a great question. I don't know how I learned. I think because my first encounter was with someone who was out already. They sort of knew their role. They sort of knew what they were doing, and I guess it just sort of naturally evolves as experiences do. But I think, going into it, I don't know. I guess it's like when you're in your first encounter with anyone, right? You're just kind of figure it out. And if it's awkward, you're like, well, no, not next time. I'm not going to do that next time. Or like if something's not right, you kind of learn by doing, which is so funny to think about. But yeah,
funny and nerve-wracking as well.
Right? Of course. And you're kind of like, well, is that right? Should I do that? But I think you just kind of have to say, all right, this is what's happening, and we figure it out.
I mean, so true. Because honestly, like it is really the same for same sex. I'll speak from my own experience. Like I said, sexual education only covers how to make a baby, how we come into this world, and that's it. There's no like real kind of, this is where you put this, but you can also put it here. And if you want to experience an orgasm, then you might want to do this. Like, there's no kind of exploration. Like, that has to be all done by yourself.
Which is kind of crazy because it is such an important thing, especially with just like, I don't know, not only safety and health, knowing what is safe and what isn't, but also just like being okay to be comfortable with yourself in a situation like that, and knowing yourself well enough. There's also nothing about like, hey, if you're at home alone, try this. Figure out what makes you comfortable, so that when you do encounter someone that you want to go a step farther with, you already kind of have an idea of what you're okay with and not okay with. And I think that is something too that's really avoided because it's seen as, taboo or whatever. But like, I mean, yeah, certain things feel great, certain things don't. And like, you'd rather know that beforehand than like in the moment and you're like, whoa.
Right. I mean, it's okay if you're like with a partner and you have like this mutual respect that 100%. You're going to explore things and everything is very respectful, then it's okay. Yep. But, you know, if you're just kind of going out into the world and you know, sleeping around, dating around or whatever, then there might be some experiences that are less respectful where you're just like, oh, that happened.
Yeah. Well, put that in the book and move on.
Right. But yeah, it can happen for any two people coming together, right? It doesn't really matter if it's same sex or opposite sex, right?
Completely agree.
Yeah. Or multiple sex.
There you go.
Yeah, you know.
To each their own.
Right, exactly. Yeah. What would you say to someone who is listening, who knows that they're not straight, but feels terrified to say it out loud for whatever reason?
Personally, I would say just come out, live your life. It's scary. It is scary, and I don't think it has to be. I think maybe that's what I learned is it doesn't have to be scary. The people who are going to be there for you are going to be there for you no matter what. And if your, you know, sexual identity is so important to them that they don't want to be around you, then is that really someone that you want in your life anyway? Because who knows what other thing might trigger them to not be there for you in the future. If it's not identity, it could be something else, you know? And you want to be surrounded by people who know and love every part of you, and who you are, you know, on the spectrum or the scale or however you want to look at it is really important. And you want to be able to, you want to be yourself. It's not fun to be uncomfortable in your own skin. And, you know, I had 25 years of that, you know, being just slightly uncomfortable in who I was. And realizing that the best feeling in the world is just being comfortable in who you are and not having this voice in your head telling you that, you know, the world is going to explode because you tell people that you're gay. And I think it's not easy. It does take courage, which is why this podcast is so cool. But I think, if you can find the strength to do that, even if it doesn't go quote unquote well, you will find the people in the world that will uplift you and make you feel that, you know, make you realize that, damn, I wish I'd done this sooner. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. I think that's what I would say. Just be yourself.
Just be yourself. Yeah. Yes. And to the person who is watching who's still not 100% sure about their sexuality, what tips would you give to someone to help them figure that out?
I guess kind of like what we said, you know, learning by doing, I guess. I'm not recommending you, you know, whatever, but I think like, you know, if you're really not sure, and it is hard, I think, to be 100% sure right away, because is it a phase? You know, I think she's beautiful, but I think he's hot. Like, what does that mean? I think you allowing yourself to have experiences with different types of people, going into it with an open mind and seeing just what feels right for you is okay. And if you need to do that, you know, on your own without, you know, people in your circle knowing about it, just for your own personal journey, do it that way. If you have friends who you can talk to about it, I would say that's probably, you know, makes you feel more warm and accepted, but everybody's journey is different. But I think if you're questioning, just go out and see the world, you know, move, find a place, find your Bangkok, find your place where
just buy a plane ticket to Bangkok.
We're here. But yeah, I think the easiest way to find out the most about yourself is by taking yourself completely out of your comfort zone and making that first step to be like, I'm going to do something for me and by myself and kind of forge my own path in a place where nobody knows who I am and see where it takes you. And it's, for someone who did that, it's incredible what, you can do as a person and the people you meet and the experiences you can have. And I think you can spend your whole life questioning, but why wait when there's so much to give to the world and for the world to give back to you? Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's honestly amazing. Yeah, I know. I wish I brought the tissues. And I think on that note, that's a beautiful note to end on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for having me. This was really nice.
Yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I know that this is going to reach many people. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh. Look it out. Oh, I genuinely need the tissues though. I was like, she's welling up.